this is a big one. This is the big news of the week. This is history being made. Speaker Kevin McCarthy ousted in historic House vote as scramble begins for a Republican leader. This is from the AP. Speaker Kevin McCarthy was voted out of the job on Tuesday in an extraordinary showdown, a first in U.S. history, forced by a contingent. We're going to call them a squad, just to drive the point home, forced by a squad of hard right conservatives and throwing the House and its Republican leadership into chaos. It's the end of the political line for McCarthy, who has said repeatedly that he never gives up, but found himself with almost no options remaining. Neither the right flank Republicans who engineered his ouster nor the Democrats who piled on seem open to negotiating. Later in the piece, McCarthy's chief rival, Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida, orchestrated the rare vote on the obscure motion to vacate and pushed ahead swiftly into a dramatic afternoon roll call. McCarthy enjoyed support from most Republicans in his slim majority, but 8 Republican detractors, 8. Again, a squad, you might say. Many of the same hard right holdouts who tried to stop him from becoming speaker in January essentially forced him out. Stillness fell as the presiding officer gavelled the vote, closed 216 to 210, saying the office of the speaker is hereby declared vacant. So basically, you had Democrats facing the decision, do they bail McCarthy out or do they all vote to vacate, knowing that there was a contingent of Freedom Caucus Republicans who would tip the scales in the favor of bouncing McCarthy. That is what they decided to do. There was some talk about whether or not they would back him up. That's why Matt Gaetz said in his interview on CNN just over the weekend that if McCarthy is speaker by this time next week, he will be serving at the pleasure of the Democrats, because even though McCarthy had most support within the GOP caucus, the question was, do the Democrats help the Freedom Caucus bounce him and cause chaos on the Republican side, or do the Democrats live up to what they say they care about, which is the fact that McCarthy was the adult in the room and he kept the government open and we care so much about that, right? There was some thinking that maybe the Democrats would throw him a lifeline, since don't forget, they do have to pass another spending bill in now, 41 days? But anyway, here's Kevin McCarthy's reaction, obviously taking it a little personal. Here's his words for Matt Gaetz.
Not a conservative. Not a conservative. Look, you all know Matt Gaetz. You know it was personal. It had nothing to do about spending. It had nothing to do about everything he accused somebody of he was doing. It all was about getting attention from you. I mean, we're getting email fundraisers from him as he's doing it. Join in quickly. That's not governing. That's not becoming of a member of Congress. And regardless of what you think, I've seen the text. It was all about his ethics. But that's all right.
Now, he mentions that he was raising money.
You insulted him a little bit. You got a little out of order yourself.
Exactly, yeah. He mentioned there that he was raising money off this, and Matt Gaetz was, in fact, raising money off this. Full disclosure, and look, I've never been on any Republican email lists, so I know that sounds weird, but I even got an email from Matt Gaetz somehow asking for money for this. I don't know. Maybe they're fans of the show. Yeah, exactly. Maybe they added DueDissidence to the show. But I did see Matt Gaetz actually did send out fundraising emails over this because, look, this is his 15 minutes of fame. You obviously milk it for everything you can get. But here's a guy who I had never heard of before, Representative Graves. Let's take a look at him on the House floor. He was quite upset and quite offended that Matt Gaetz, I apologize, would try to fundraise off of this. So here's an unknown schmuck. I never heard of this guy, but he's angry.
My phone keeps sending text messages saying, "Hey, give me money. Oh, look at that. Oh, look, give me money. I filed the motion to vacate." Using official actions to raise money. It's disgusting. It's what's disgusting about Washington.
Again, I have no fucking clue who that guy is, but he must be from one of these southwestern sort of desert districts, because he sure got a lot of sand in his pussy, whoever that guy is. That guy is fucking upset about the fact that he is fundraising off of this. He's fundraising off of this. Matt Gaetz had an answer to that. I tell you, Matt Gaetz really, he was prepared for this moment. Let's hear Matt Gaetz respond to this accusation that he's raising money off of his action. Here he is, very, very eager to take that charge on head on.
And when it comes to how those raise money, I take no lecture on asking patriotic Americans to weigh in and contribute to this fight from those who would grovel and bend knee for the lobbyists and special interests who own our leadership, who have, boo all you want, who have hollowed out this town. And
let's listen to that again. I want you to listen to, I'm going to play this again from the beginning. When they start booing him and he says, boo all you want, I want you to picture AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Jamal Bowman doing that same thing. Because that's
we'd be in a different
from them.
We'd be in a different world. We'd have a different show. Our focus would be different. We'd be fundraising for them if they were doing shit like that.
Exactly. So watch this again and just imagine this could have been AOC. This could have been people who we sent in there thinking they were going to cause this kind of disruption.
And when it comes to how those raise money, I take no lecture on asking patriotic Americans to weigh in and contribute to this fight from those who would grovel and bend knee for the lobbyists and special interests who own our leadership, who have, boo all you want, who have hollowed out this town and have borrowed against the future of our future generations. I'll be happy to fund my political operation through the work of hardworking Americans, $10 and $20 and $30 at a time, and you all keep showing up at the lobbyist fundraisers and see how that goes for you. I reserve.
Boom. He even had a little bit of that Jimmy Stewart, crack in his voice. Who have hollowed out this town? That could have been a Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yeah, this is the people's house, and you've turned it into a den of sin.
Exactly. That's very good. That's good. But he actually did sound a little bit like that there. But damn, was he ready for that fight? This is a guy who came in ready for a fight. That's what it's about. It's about being ready for a fight. He then went on Laura Ingram's show on Fox News and stuck it back in McCarthy's face a little bit. Let's hear a little bit of this.
I support President Trump, eager to campaign with him. Probably our private
Sorry.
conversation.
I should have added context. So Trump has now been nominated for the speakership. And so I'm assuming the question here.
Somebody stepped up to sponsor him, right?
Yeah, exactly. I forget who it was. Somebody I'd never heard of. But I'm assuming the question here is, how do you feel about Trump taking over? Because you don't actually have to be a member of Congress to be Speaker of the House. They could vote for anybody Speaker of the House. So here's his answer.
I support President Trump, eager to campaign with him. Probably our private conversations I'm going to keep to us, but I think I'm in pretty good stead with the former president. You'll see me on the campaign trail with him soon. And by the way, you know who you won't see on the campaign trail at a big rally? Kevin McCarthy. Because if Kevin McCarthy took the stage at a Trump rally, he would be booed off of it like Lindsey Graham.
Boom. Now, I want to talk about this because the people who maintain that Gaetz made a mistake here cite the fact that the Republican Party is fractured, the Republican Party is in chaos, and that the Republican Party has a bit of a problem on their hands now. No speaker, another spending deadline coming up in 45 days. And you have a lot of the real diehard Republican partisans saying that Gaetz misstepped here. He did not misstep here. Much in the same way that AOC and the squad would not have misstepped were they to force this exact conflict when we asked them to. And it wouldn't have been that they wouldn't have caused some short-term harm to the party. It's that you have to cause, relational harm. It's that you have to cause some short-term harm to the party in order to steer it long-term where you think it must go. Matt Gaetz was not afraid of being perceived as helping the Democrats here, because in a certain sense, he was helping the Democrats. The Democrats did vote with him to get rid of McCarthy. The Democrats do like the fact that the Republicans are having this chaotic moment now. I'm sure betting odds went slightly down for Republicans in 2024 because of this. Because look, every ounce of energy that you spend trying to get your own house in order is an ounce of energy you can't spend attacking the Democrats. And even guys like Dan Bongino said, okay, yeah, we didn't like McCarthy, but the fact that all the Marxist socialist Democrats voted with Gaetz, that means that he kind of screwed up. No, like, am I missing something? No, you're not missing something. You're not missing something. Sometimes you have to hamstring the party in the short term in order to force a directional change. Now, the people who are now look back, like the Sam Cedars and, like some of these other, quote unquote left commentators. Well, look at how Matt Gaetz fucked up here, because look at the disarray that the Republicans are in. They handed a victory to the Democrats. Well, you just gave away the game. You just showed your ass, because if you're worried about giving a win to the opposition party in the short term, it means all of this Bernie stuff was just all a virtue signal. You weren't really serious about any of it, because in order to actually turn the Democrats into something worthwhile, you would have to upset their apple cart in a way that, of course, would cause some short-term inconvenience or some short-term losses. It was not going to be pretty. It wasn't supposed to be pretty. That's why the hashtag was force the vote, not request the vote, right? Force the vote. You have to force the issue, which, yes, comes with some short-term harm, some growing pains, if you will. But these people were never willing to put up with that, because they're so neurotic about, well, we can't. What if we did that? Then that would help the Republicans. Well, if you're worried about the Republicans getting a momentary bounce or a momentary boost of momentum, then you were never serious about hijacking the Democratic Party to begin with. Matt Gaetz is serious about hijacking the Republican Party, so serious that he's willing to harm their prospects in the short term, because he understands that as a necessary part of the process. He's not coming at this from a naked partisan perspective. If he were, he would be repulsed by the idea that the Democrats voted with him, and he never would have done it. You have to think in a way that transcends even the next election, really. Even the next election. In this case, they're over a year out, so he can kind of afford to do this now, and it's likely that, things will reset more or less by the time we vote next year. But you have to, of course, there's risk. That's the bottom line. Yes, he's taking a chance. He's taking a chance because he feels it necessary to take a risk, to reorient the party, because he sees the Republican Party as useless in its current form, just as we saw the Democratic Party as useless in its current form. Sending the squad there was a desperate effort to reshape it in a way that made it viable for some sort of positive change, and they were not willing to do it. They were not willing to put anything on the line to make that happen. They wanted it. Some commentators wanted it for free. Well, if you, suck up to Nancy Pelosi, call her mama bear, be nice, they'll give you some committee assignments. I mean, come on. Gavin Newsom wouldn't even give Barbara Lee the Senate seat. He put a fucking lobbyist there, okay, to keep her out. We're going to get to that later, too. Anyway, go ahead. I know I said a lot.
That's an excellent point, that if your critique of what McCarthy is doing now is that he's hurting his party, then you were never
You mean Gaetz. You mean Gaetz.
Yeah, Gaetz. What did I say?
You said McCarthy.
Oh, yeah. Gaetz.
Yeah, you meant Gaetz.
You were never serious about reforming the Democrats, because clearly you were going to have to burn that party down and remake it from the ground up. Now, one thing I will point out is it is easier for guys like Gaetz to take stands like this, because in the end, the people with the money don't really give a shit about the Republican internecine fighting. Whereas if you look at what we sent the squad there to do, now you got the whole system coming down on you, right? I mean, now you've got all the corporations, all of their lobbyists, all of the media that's owned by those same corporations. They're all going to come down on you, because you're talking about reordering the whole economic system. You're talking about reordering the whole distribution of wealth. And not even, I mean, in terms of the squad, in terms of the Bernie agenda, you're not even talking about like a communist reorganization. You're talking about a Nordic model kind of reorganization. But these people are so fucking greedy. Even that is anathema. So Gaetz can do this without facing what the squad would have. That is something we have to concede. But nonetheless, the idea that the Republicans are going to suffer terrible consequences from who? From who? If you think back, remember when AOC stood for something? She was popular. She was actually popular, if you remember, early on, when she was giving interviews and talking about unfair wages and corporate power. She actually had positive poll numbers. Now, because the people who were for her have disowned her, all you had, and the Fox News people were always brainwashed against her. Now she's deeply unpopular. If the squad had taken those kinds of stands and followed through with them, they would have won a lot of support from independents. They would have won a lot of support from MAGA people. Now they've just fallen back on standard Democratic Party cultural signaling with, vague platitudes about economics. Their base now are just suburban libs. Right. I remember the libs I knew hated AOC. They love her now. Mm-hmm. They love her now. Now she's one of them.
Please clap.